Lead us right, help our youth the truth to know. In love and honesty to grow and live in just and true. Great love the height attain to build a nation where peace and justice shall reign. UAC, change Nigeria, Nigeria first. Well, for our guests, our slogan is UAC, change Nigeria. Because in our own group, we are desirous of having the kind of change that Nigerians, ordinary people, yearns for. Let me quickly, since our resource persons are here, we have now Miss Dr. Muritala Dauda representing ICPC. Please, can you come right? We have Mr. Max John representing the DSS, or the SSS, which one? Okay, that is D, that is S. So then we have Dr. Chibuike Ogumeke Abi. I'm representing NBC, Nigerian Broadcasting Commission. Yeah. Then, of course, we have the moderator of the event, of this event, Dr. Ruben Abati, a journalist, former politician. Are you still a politician? Right? And of course, on that side, we have Dr. Muiz Banire, the convener of United Action for Change. Change Nigeria. Change Nigeria. Without wasting our time, go straight to the program. First, we'll call on the convener of the United Action for Change to tell us why we are here.
Mr. Moderator, Dr. Ruben Abati, distinguished resource person and discussant here present, participant both virtual and physical, members of the UAC here present, gentlemen of the press. Let me, on behalf of the United Action for Change, welcome all of us this afternoon to this engagement. Who we are is simply like the MC remarked at the beginning. We are just a group of some sort of, if I can use the word loosely, radicals that have chosen to come together to see how we can add value to the society. It is purely a non-partisan group that has been in existence now for almost getting to about, I think about 9 years now or thereabout. And most of our members are professionals largely, and we also have some other people from other strata that have joined over time and have been contributing in one form or the other. We essentially carry out a lot of programs. Every year, we do have our public lecture, in which we've had a lot of distinguished and eminent personalities deliver from time to time. This group convened the first ever town hall meeting before even the federal government started the town hall meetings. And of course, we do convene from time to time at a point monthly a roundtable on topical issues, which we discuss and pass the resolution or the outcome to the appropriate or relevant bodies. This group equally engages in what is called legislative advocacy. In other words, we do from time to time prepare bills and circulate it among the relevant houses of assembly, and some of which some of the epochal ones that we have done, we had valuable contribution into the Freedom of Information Act, the Whistleblowers Act. We did work on that and pass it around also. And of course, from time to time, we've been developing a lot of them across different houses of assembly in the nation. We also engage in, excuse me, what is called public interest advocacy, because we are blessed with not less than about almost close to 17 very senior lawyers in our midst. So we engage in free public interest litigation on behalf of the underprivileged from time to time. Of course, again, as a group, we engage in communal service from time to time. We do medical outreach. Again, we have some of our members that are medical doctors, so we do engage in that from time to time. We engage in environmental advocacy equally. Most importantly and instructively, we do what is called youth leadership program every year. The youth leadership program is essentially to bridge the capacity of our youth who have been condemned for lacking in capacity to administer the affairs of the country. So we believe that apart from that being an indictment on the elders, that for us, what we need to do, even we are such, is observe, is to bridge that capacity. So for a number of years, we used to have a 3-day leadership training at our cost for not less than 150 youths every year. That has been continued until the COVID period, where it's now online or virtual mainly. Now, beyond all this one, like I said, we have been engaging in roundtable, part of which is the one we are doing today. Now, as a forerunner to what we are doing here today, about 3 months ago or thereabout, 2 months, I understand, 2 months ago, we had an extensive overview or discussion on the new Electoral Act 2022. It was really, really extensive. We had the benefit of having Comrade Guinea and a lot of other discussions on ground. So we are in, we substantially illustrate the new provisions and the novel ones in the new Electoral Act. Now, today, the outcome of that particular deliberation is that we have seen remarkable improvement in the law, in the legal framework for the conduct of our election. But however, our challenge or our fear stemming from the outcome of that conversation is that how do we enforce most of these robust provisions in the Electoral Act? That inform us into convening today's roundtable discussion. That we want to hear some of the actors that we believe are relevant to the discussion, and the Nigeria Police Force as an institution, the ICPC, the EFCC, the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation, the DSS, and some other security agencies, some of which we have identified and invited for this discussion. We all know that there are several offenses created under the Electoral Act. In fact, extensive one. I did a lecture recently to the Nigerian police on this, and I discovered that we have not less than close to 90-something electoral offenses now under the new Electoral Act. Now, how do we enforce? Are they going to follow the line of what we used to traditionally see? In our country here, we normally have laws, but most times they are redundant. They are just in the law books. It's not for anybody to comply it, not for any institution to enforce. But because of the preeminence of this particular one in terms of our future, we believe that we must interrogate it further. We must challenge people on how to do it. We all know that we all have one role or the other to play, because except anybody wants to pretend, it is a matter of common knowledge that the country is unwell. So we need to give it treatment in one form or the other. Part of which is the transition that is forthcoming. The transition all of us therefore need to carry out one activity or the other towards ensuring that we get the best out of it. Because it's when we have credible leaders that we can start talking about good governance. So the emergence of these good leaders depend largely on the extent we are able to comply with the Electoral Act. And that informs, like I said earlier, why we are here primarily today. But beyond this, Mr. Moderator, distinguished resource person, we also feel honored that we must owe somebody who we believe has distinguished himself in his, I can't say career, on his assignment, let me put it that way, not a career, assignment over time, and has been a friend and part and parcel of this particular organization over time. And that person is Comrade Mike Igini. Today, our part of what we shall be doing today immediately after the roundtable, which is equally organized in his honor, is to host him to a reception by way of recognition and appreciation of his contribution. Of course, as you may well know, Comrade Mike Igini was at the time, the Electoral Commission, I think it was for, that was the last assignment. It was cross before, yes, cross before he moved to Akwa Ibom, and he just disengaged finally. Well, like I said, we are not meant, in our view, to be jollificating or celebrating alone. We believe that it is important, knowing even the honoree himself, who he is, that we must be able to put some intellectual backing to our engagement today. And that is why, again, that forms part of the rationale behind this particular conversation today. Now, today, we all know, maybe that's where we should have started, to wish ourselves happy Independence Day for whatever it is worth. It's a unique day to all of us because it's said to be our Independence Day. And we believe that what, in our own view as a group, we should be doing today should actually be interrogating the various ways in which we can take our country forward, how we can grow the country, how the country can move away from the state of anomaly that it is. That ought to be our preoccupation in this country today. And we believe that while our leaders, or if you like, preferably or appropriately, if you want to capture them, while our dealers are gathered all over the whole place in celebration, we believe we should be gathered here this afternoon, interrogating the way we can move the country forward. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we hope that at the end of the day, today we'll be able to fashion out a way of ensuring that we breathe life into the electoral laws, not necessarily limited to the Electoral Act. There are a lot of other relevant legislation to our electoral success. So we believe all of them, we will quickly interrogate all of them today. Let me also quickly acknowledge the improvement in the Electoral Act. I must say that there is a remarkable improvement in the electoral law by the new Electoral Act. So we must give commendation to the National Electoral Commission, INEC, in this regard. They've done well so far. Of course, it's not as if the thing was just smooth like that. Of course, I'm sure we all recall what transpired at the National Assembly in respect of the new Electoral Act. It took a lot before we could get to where we are today. And we know our politicians, for what they are, in my view, I've always said this consistently, maybe because I've had the privilege of sharing fellowship with them in the past. They are unique human beings. They are a special species who must win election at all costs for personal aggrandizement rather than the countries of public interest. So as our modest contribution, like I said, the occasion is meant to further enrich our electoral system. The electoral process is progressing well. The electoral system is still flawed largely. So at the end of the day, it is our belief and prayer that we are able to move forward today. So as I conclude, let me once again welcome and recognize the honoree, Comrade Mike Igini, is distinguished Nigerian, which I believe that is much more deserving of the honors that they are distributing and sharing as share and share alike today. There are some people that we believe deserve it, but in fact, the new dimension to it now is that it's a political award, more or less, that honor that they are sharing this time around. So, to the various characters that populated the list that we have seen, this is a man that is a man of impeccable character, a man of integrity. His news is all over the place. I don't need to bore you with that. A committed, patriotic, and dedicated Nigerian, and of course, a great activist, highly passionate about the country. In fact, to this level that I can say, at times it gets so much emotional for you. Some of you that must have been watching him on TV at times when he talks, he loses at times his own emotion when it comes to the issues pertaining to our country. So today is a man that we are recognizing and appreciating and honoring. And at the end of the day, we shall be giving him our own award. Even if the country does not give, we will give you our own award today, which is greater than GCON. So on this note, may I quickly therefore seize the privilege of having the mic to invite the honoree, Comrade Mike Igini, to take his position there. So MC, I think you can come and take over. So this is why we are here. So I formally once again welcome each and every one of us, both virtually and physically. Thank you very much and God bless.
UAC, I clap for our convener now. Well, we appreciate our convener for the brief remarks. And without much ado, I will call on the moderator, just hand over to the moderator of the day, Dr. Ruben Abati, to continue to steer the affairs of this house.
Thank you. Let's see. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and happy Independence Day anniversary. Nigeria is 62 today. I know some people, they say they don't want to hear the word happiness. but we're a country of very resilient people, very optimistic people. So in the midst of all odds, we must continue to celebrate. We must remain committed that one day it shall be well with Nigeria. Now, first, let me congratulate the convener, Dr. Moise Banere of United Action for Change. And United Action for Change, I mean, this is really quite resonant today, because if there was ever a time that Nigerians are asking for change, progress, it's now. And as you can see from, the momentum out there, many Nigerians think that the 2023 process should bring change. Today is Independence Day. I've written before now that today should be a day of reflection, not a day for pepper soup and jollof rice. And this program that has been organized by the United Action for Change gives us that opportunity to reflect, to think, to interact, to share ideas about the immediate future of Nigeria. And the theme that has been chosen, I mean, it can be a better theme: security. And the panelists that have been invited, they are here to talk about how do we secure Nigeria? How do we make the 2023 process really a secure process? Now, this week, a peace accord was signed, National Peace Accord, by the presidential candidates. That was put together by the National Peace Committee led by General Abdulsalami Abubakar, Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka, the Sultan of Sokoto, Femi Otedola, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, and that accord was signed to have peace in the 2023 elections. And now today, we're talking about security. Insecurity has been a major problem in Nigeria. There are parts of Nigeria today where bandits, terrorists, kidnappers are holding sway. Okay? Are the security agencies prepared? Because they are part of it. They tell us every election about these concentric circles of security that they provide. Do we have that concentric circle in place 5 months to the date of the election? Well, the Inspector General of Police was at that National Peace Accord signing ceremony, and he gave the assurance that the security agencies are ready, that everybody is ready. Okay, will that promise be kept? Are they truly ready? It is a concentric circle in place. So I think that, the topic for this discussion is very important. And we have the various agencies here present. Also present here is the National Broadcasting Commission. The National Broadcasting Commission issued a statement recently, telling broadcasting stations, TV, radio, and everyone, to be sure, to make sure that whatever they do not jeopardize national security. The people at the National Broadcasting Commission, sometimes they overreach themselves. They even
Well, the DPSS in its wisdom gave the permission for me to come here and speak of change in Nigeria election and the role of the DSS. The role of the DSS that having a state services, but before, during, and after the conduct of the election has not changed, even with the amended electoral act. We now look at the constitutional backing that gives us a home mandate. According to the SSS instrument number 1 of 1999 Constitution, made pursuant to section 6 of the LSA Act 1986, caption 74 law in South Korea, 2004 charges the DSS with this particular function: prevention, detection, and investigation of the following threats: espionage, and sensitive installations, and also visiting foreign dignitaries. And also, part of our role is also vetting of prospective appointees to public office, also vetting of vital and sensitive corporate organizations before their incorporation in Nigeria, and also monitoring them. And also we vet applicants for naturalization and Nigerian citizenship. Relatedly, our role still extends to provision of timely advice to government on all matters of national security, and such other functions as may from time to time be assigned by the president, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, though most people are not comfortable with that last one. And yes, and the DSS, actually, we commend INEC for being very progressive, because this particular, lots of the amendment that was done in the Electoral Act is to address previous grievances. Yes, so let's look at some of the major changes introduced. INEC has been granted financial autonomy. Also, there's the extension of time frame for publication of election notice from 90 days to 360 days, which will give people more time to prepare. We also have the encouragement of early primaries from 60 days to 180 days, extension of time frame for campaign by political parties to 150 days. Formerly, it was 90 days. So it's a very huge progress. And we also have provision of central electronic database. Of course, we have witnessed how the general public lauded it. I think it was used in this Ekiti and Osun State election. So it's a very good development with all these technological changes in the electoral process. So primary role of the DSS is securing the Nigerian elections. The DSS, the service is always poised to ensure a peaceful, free, and fair and credible elections in 2023. To achieve this end, what has the DSS been doing? We've been advancing plans with other stakeholders in the election project for concerted security arrangements. Accordingly, the service is also expected to checkmate the spate of threats across the country, evident in the activities of the terrorists, bandits, the IPOB, Independent People of Biafra, economic saboteurs, and other criminal entities, to include thuggery, incidents of political violence, and other diverse potential threats to the conduct of the electoral processes. The 2022 Electoral Act, as amended, does not assign any specific role to the service during elections. But however, it remains our statutory responsibility to provide adequate and effective security in the country before, during, and after the elections. Our job is very simple. It has been streamlined. It's in 3 phases. There's what we do before the elections, there's what we do during the elections, and there's what we do after the elections. Pre-election period, what do we usually do? Of course, we sustain current security operations against political violence by stepping up our intelligence gathering, arrest, parade, and prosecution of all identified thugs and their sponsors, not only during the campaign, but also on the days of the polls and thereafter. Secondly, we procure intelligence of politicians that are acquiring and stockpiling arms, with particular attention to seizure of the illicit and other dangerous weapons. Of course, seizing them will prevent attacks, and also will also aid in the prosecution of those particular people who have been arrested, with those who have been found with those illicit weapons. Thirdly, we contain direct incitement. Usually during political period, there are all these incitements from different places, from different stakeholders. So the DSS contain direct incitement to political violence by sustaining the monitoring of all political programs in both print and electronic media, as well as public statements by political leaders. And those who are engaging in direct incitement, we usually invite them for counseling. And also, we make them to sign undertakings to desist from such acts. That undertaking has gone a long way in preventing most of these particular incitement, because I remember there were some places I worked at, some troublesome stakeholders, politicians, just like our guys say, can be very crafty, yes. So once they sign that undertaking, it's like a bond. They'll be very careful with their utterances and other things like that. So we do that. And fourthly, we sustain interactive sessions with politicians and other stakeholders to discuss issues of mutual interest in relation to politics and the forthcoming elections. And fifth, we encourage the use of local media to propagate inter-party dialogue and measures to prevent political violence. Similarly, we profile all prominent politicians and party members to ascertain the probability of those who could become target of political violence. And to that effect, we usually seek the assistance of the DGSS to provide additional security for such stakeholders that would likely be target of political violence. And we also run traces on those to be engaged as ad hoc staff, just like I was explaining earlier. One of our constitutional mandate is vetting. So we can run traces on those to be engaged as ad hoc electoral officials with the aim of identifying those who are partisan and also those who are incompetent or those with adverse security records. And to that end, happy to tell you that the DSS has a license officer in INEC at the national level. We also have one also at the state level for better synergy. And we also increase vigilance and security presence in the areas adjudged as flashpoints. And also we provide timely advice to the electoral bodies on all matters relating to electoral security. That is pre-election period, what we do. On the election day proper, election period, election has commenced. What do we do? Of course, we supervise distribution of electoral materials at INEC offices to avoid manipulations. We also deploy personnel and logistics to secure electoral materials, especially during transit. There have been cases of snatches, so we deploy personnel who will also act as security to escort electoral materials to their various destinations. And we deployment of personnel to polling booths to monitor activities of electoral officials, politicians, electorates, as well as infiltrate the areas which are prone to rigging, because normally we do what we call threat assessments. We identify, we have personnel in all the local governments, so they usually bring in their reports on the black spot areas that we are judged to be prone to all this electoral violence. So what we do is that we deploy undercover operatives maybe 48 hours to keep on monitoring the situation and reporting accordingly. We do that. And also we record all malpractices during elections. In fact, the DSS take this process very seriously because one of our main constitutional role is securing internal security of the country. So we don't joke with it. We record all malpractices during election. We record all election results. We record all breaches of security before, during, and after elections. Yes, we keep them on records for records purposes. We monitor election results at the collation centers. Also provision of security to INEC officials, we do that. And also provision of conducive atmosphere for the conduct of the election. That's what we do during election period. Then post-election period, what do we do? It's one of the most delicate periods in all the electoral processes. This is one of the most delicate periods during the election processes, as rejection of the outcome of the elections and deliberate instigation of violence could be employed by aggrieved candidates to undermine the country's stability and democracy. The Department of State Services at the various commands across the country would have in place measures to deal with post-election reaction. We call it PER. We take it very serious. In particular, the following measures are always deemed necessary. Of course, invitation and management of the loser's perception, with the ultimate aim of prevailing on their supporters to refrain from acts that are inimical to security or acts that can cause violence. And also, we liaise with other security agencies to ensure effective security deployments immediately after announcement of results, mostly to achieve what we call show of force, of course, which is necessary to deter violence. And similarly, we arrest and prosecute those who perpetrate violence, which to serve as deterrence to others. Lastly, on my comment, it is worthy to know that the DSS takes the issue of elections very seriously, and to that end, it has made a handbook. Of course, we have a handbook, which is code of conduct for DSS personnel before, during, and after elections, and it's made available to all personnel, including our guards, drivers, cleaners. Everybody is assigned a copy to know what to do. And, they're all trained, also intelligence gathering. Once you are employed in DSS, you undergo the basic training of knowing what to do, what to watch out for. So everybody is deployed. So that particular handbook is distributed to each and every one of personnel. We are very disciplined. So that book is like a guide on how to behave. You go contrary to some of the positions of that book, then you have to be sanctioned. So thank you very much. I think with this submission, you now understand our role properly on how to spend Nigerian election. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. John, giving us the perspective of the role of the Department of State Services with detection, prevention, and investigation before, during, and after the elections. Of course, the role of the State Department is a constitutional one. Okay, it's also reflected in the Electoral Act in Section 91. The Electoral Act may talk about the police, but it also talks about the civil defense, but it also says any other security agency of the government. And the Department of State Security, being a standing institution of government, is covered under that, and is part of those four concentric circles. Thank you very much, Mr. John, for drawing our attention to this. I'm sure there will be other contributions. But before I go to the ICPC, which is the major thing that many of us are worried about, corruption. Okay, let's go first to my own constituency, the broadcasting arm of it, which is also recognized in the Electoral Act, sections 94 to 99. Talk specifically about how rallies should be conducted, the kind of language that should be used, the responsibility of the media, and also how persons should treat those sensitive issues about ethnicity, religion, and geography. Although I see the document using the word tribe, who still uses that? It's ethnicity, not tribe. It's a colonialist who use the word tribe. In any case, okay, we have the representative of the Broadcasting Commission, Dr. Chibuke, who will address this issue about the broadcasting code, about what language should be adopted. Don't forget that many of the gladiators in this election, they see it as war. Election should not be war, and the NBC is saying, no, this is not war. Can people just conduct themselves in a civil manner and after the fashion of gentlemen? Dr. Chibuke, the microphone is yours now.
Thank you very much. May I use this opportunity to salute the convener for making my day on Nigeria at 62. Like the moderator said, today's supposed to be a sober reflection. We really need to think how best to move this country forward. On that note, I wish to make a presentation for this gathering on securing Nigerian election, the role of NBC. May I use this opportunity to remind you that the National Broadcasting Commission is charged with the responsibility to license, regulate, control, and monitor the entirety of the broadcasting industry. And that we are now talking about radio, television, and all other aspects of broadcasting. And the best way we do it is we have what we call the Nigerian Broadcasting Code. And that broadcasting code is an industry document. It's not a product of a National Broadcasting Commission. It's a product made together by people like Dr. Bati, who is a key player in the industry, and that regulates all our activities, both the broadcaster and the regulator. And in that note too, I must say that when it comes to election, it's INEC that is saddled with that responsibility about Nigerian election. And like he said, NBC has an important role to play in that matter. That is why we incorporated the aspect of the Electoral Act into the Nigerian Broadcasting Code, so that to acquaint our broadcasters the role they is expected to play when it comes to election. And specifically, the Broadcasting Code says political programs shall be in decent language. Therefore, hate content, divisive remarks are prohibited. Yes, we are talking about decent content. And we are not talking about hate speeches. That the content should not be something that, instead of bringing Nigeria together, it will not end up dividing the country. So we should be very, very careful of our utterances when it comes to election. And it also says that adhere to the principle of straight dealing. We are enshrining here that all aspects of broadcast, from the beginning of a production, should be well known, so that we know the direction you are going to, so that you don't produce a program and that program is still tilted towards a different goal altogether. And you also say that the program should be handled professionally with sound judgment to ensure it does not lose focus or lead to unfair treatment of any person or institution, so that every content of broadcast should be handled professionally. And that is the area that we try as much as possible to engage our broadcasters, that they should be professional in their conduct. And that professionalism is the key. So that we are talking about the issue of fairness, the issue of balance, and the issue of equity in your broadcast. So that is the area that we are also talking about. And that you should treat everybody in a very fair manner. There are times you go on air to malign some institutions of government, police, for example, and the other institutions of government, even INEC, and all that we should be very, very careful on how we do that. And at the same time, that a production of the broadcaster, that it be a production to the broadcaster except advertisement and promos, that the broadcaster should produce their own programs, except the only one they don't have authority to produce is the adverts of the political parties or their candidates and their promos. They should leave that one to be produced by the parties and submitted to the station, not to encourage or incite the commission of crime or lead to public disorder. That your broadcast, in no matter what you are talking about, should not encourage people to lead to crime or lead to public disorder. And again, they said also, the broadcasting code also said the broadcaster shall not commercialize political news. Yes, when we now talk about commercialization, so that money doesn't exchange hands, you are giving information. That information should be information. And when it comes to news, news shouldn't be commercialized. So that's the provision in the code. And accord equitable airtime to all political parties or views with particular regards to the duration or belt. That all political parties should be given equal opportunity to participate in the programmings of the stations. And when we are now talking about programmings here, we are talking about you featured party A in your program by 8 o'clock. Please also accord that same opportunity to party B, and not a situation that you feature party A by 8 o'clock in the morning and you are now featuring party B by 10 p.m. in the night. That is not equitable and that is not right. And also this code is also talking about ensure that all sides of any issue of public interest shall be equitably presented to ensure fairness and balance. Therefore, guests shall be of comparable status. That means that every issue should be everybody should be fairly treated in that matter. And we are talking about that you are not bringing guests to your studio and you want to bring a party A and you brought party A chairman and you are not bringing public relation officer or party B. They are not of the same this thing. That you should bring people of comparable status so that they can discuss issue that is at stake. Not to deny access to any political party or view during the electioneering. And what we are saying here is that some stations will deliberately deny some political parties access to their station during politics and all that. So the code condemns such habits. And it's very, very rampant, mostly on state broadcasting stations and some federal government stations. So those things are obtainable. And some of the private stations are also engaged in such a act. So the code denounced such act. Not broadcast political jingles exceeding 60 seconds. And the political jingles is expected to be 60 seconds and not more than that. Not to use any vote obtained at the polling station to project or speculate chances of a candidate. What we are establishing here is that we are not telling you that they are telling you what to broadcast, but speculation is very, very wrong. At times, somebody may be winning the election. At the end of the day, it end up that one other local government can turn the whole thing. But so we should avoid such speculation. Relay election results or declaration of the winner only as announced by the authorized electoral officer of the election. In the past, we've witnessed a situation that some candidates will even go to some stations to announce their own result according to their own wish. So it is not allowed. Keep a log of political programs showing allocation of news and news-related programs or commercial airtimes to each part of each party. What we are saying is that this is what we call an internal mechanism of the stations, that they should keep log, because some station A may, party A may decide to write a petition that so and so station deny me access. So keep log of your activities with the political parties is very, very necessary. Also, there are other issues like set up a standing electoral complaint committee to resolve all disputes within 24 hours, and also authenticate a purported withdrawal of a candidate in an election and ensure that the affected candidate personally endorses such claim. We've come across a situation that overnight you now hear an announcement that Mr. A have withdrawn for Mr. B and all that. We are saying that we discover that these things are false information. So what we are saying is that if such a thing happen, ensure that the candidate personally endorse such a document before broadcast. Every station shall be responsible for the content transmitted on its platform. This one is very, very straightforward, that the NBC, we don't censor the programs. Let me disabuse what Dr. Abati said, that I can't tell her what Dr. Abati will say, because he's a guru in that industry. And we try to do is to regulate. And there's difference between censorship and in regulation. All of us have signed that this code remain the instrument for that regulation. But in censorship, you want to know what they are going to say and what they should say and all that. But in regulation, my job as a regulator starts when Dr. Abati is on air, for example. Then I will now monitor to know whether he's imbibing with the provisions of the code or not. So we don't censor the content of brokers. The stations has what we call the editorial responsibility. So they are responsible for whatever content they transmit. And let me assure you that NBC and 2022 Electoral Act, that's in line with Section 94(1) of the Electoral Act 2022, the Commission on Tuesday, June 21st, 2022, approved the following regulation. 1, a regulation to amend Section 5331 and 7712 of the Nigerian Broadcasting Code to read as follows. The broadcaster shall ensure that partisan political broadcast is recorded off transmission and preserved for a period at least 150 days after broadcast. 7712 says the period of campaign through any broadcast in any election by every political party shall commence 150 days before polling day and end 24 hours prior to that day. So this is based on the recent amendment of the Electoral Act. So we also have enshrined it in the Nigerian Broadcasting Code to conform with the Electoral Act. It is important to know that Section 96(2) of the Electoral Act 2022 says that obtained where there is an infringement of the 24 hours prohibition period, the principal officers of the broadcast station shall be deemed to have equally committed the same. This is a very important note to all our broadcasters. In the past, the station and the broadcasters that committed the offense are let free, but nowadays they may likely be prosecuted, and if they are found liable, they may go to prison or also pay fine because of committing that offense. And in doing that, and securing Nigerian election, to ensure that the broadcasting sector help in securing 2023 general election, the Commission has embarked on the following. We've embarked on sensitization forum for all roaders. Recently, a forum for that was held in first on 19th of September. It was held in Kano. The train was moved to Lagos on 21st of September and Enugu on 23rd, and last in Abuja on 26th. This is to ensure that we carry the broadcasters along for them to carry out their civic responsibility. And we're also talking about training and retraining of broadcasters, because there are several areas of the Electoral Act that are not so, the broadcasters are not familiar. So trainings and retrainings are ongoing so that all of us will be in the same page. And at the same time, the regulator also is embarking on a massive training of our own staff. In fact, by Tuesday, we're also coming back to Lagos here in Ikeja here for further training concerning the 2023 election. And the electioneering advocacy jingle is ongoing in almost all the broadcast stations. And the printing and circulation of guidelines on political broadcast posters, we've been circulating posters on what they should do and what they shouldn't do as far as the election is concerned. Our advocacy visits to broadcast stations on the need to be professional in their COVID-3 general elections is ongoing. I know very well, before the month runs out, I will also engage almost all the broadcast stations in Lagos to ensure that broadcasting code and the 2022 Electoral Act. What we are saying here is that the Commission and the broadcasters has a very important role to play. And we also always talking about the media as the fourth estate of the realm, and the media as a gatekeeper. How do you play that important role? That is why we are forcefully engaging all stakeholders so that we play by the rules, because the country, Nigeria, it belongs to all of us. And so far, I think the broadcasters in Lagos have been doing wonderfully well. And we also employ every individual to help, because regulation is everybody's business, not just the business of National Broadcasting Commission. We have over 60 radio stations in Lagos and about 14 terrestrial TV stations in Lagos. I'm not now talking about the DSTV and the cable operators. So you have a very important role to play. Where the stations are not doing what are expected to do, you are there to call them to order. And I'm very, very sure that we've been doing what the Lagosians have been doing wonderfully well in that regard. I can see the engaging atmosphere, even when our broadcasters are on air, and I implore you to continue to do that. When you have opportunity to write to NBC in case you have any complaint concerning issues in broadcasting. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Chibuke of the National Broadcasting Commission. Well, as you can see, institutions play a role, and it's not just the Independent National Electoral Commission. You have other institutions that also have a major role to play in the 2023 election. And we've listened to, a security spokesperson. We've listened to the broadcasting part of it, how the media, how what is put out there. Well, one thing that Dr. Chibuke didn't talk about is the social media. I hope in the discussions we'll also express our, concern and views about the social media, which has turned out to be a very major battleground. When the NBC issues its, guidelines, well, the focus is basically on the traditional media. But what goes on social media these days is unthinkable. It's a battleground propelled by a lot of anonymity and disinformation, misinformation, hate speech. Okay, well, now let us come to the other heart of the matter, which is corruption. If you look at the code, the Electoral Act 2022, part 7 of it, and even in other parts, it's all about electoral offenses, wrongful voting, snatching of ballot boxes, misrepresentation. It's all about, how to prevent corruption, which is a national dilemma. And we have, Dr. Muritala Dauda representing the ICPC here. So how do we deal with the challenge of corruption? Persons have said, well, with the adoption of technology, with the adoption of beavers, I think there's also, is it ABIS or ADIS? ABIS, with beavers and ABIS, that there will be no corruption. Okay, but already people are saying no. Is the process is not as foolproof as it appears. Okay, so what will anybody do? There have been talks about Electoral Offenses Commission. Even INEC officials have been saying, well, they cannot be saddled with that additional responsibility. It will be better if you have an Electoral Offenses Commission. We're not there yet, but it's on the table. But, we have the ICPC, which is functional at the public end. Okay, public officers end. Will these public officers who may be tempted to aid and abet, corruption, would they be called to order? Is ICPC ready? Is, ICPC fully energized? You know that the ELCC, the matter is so bad, even the ELCC now has gotten involved in election matters. But as I said earlier, Section 91 of the Electoral Act, recognizes the role of all the security and enforcement agencies. Let me give the microphone to Dr. Dauda to speak on behalf of the ICPC. Dr. Dauda.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Can you please project the Okay. Good afternoon once again. On behalf of the chairman of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offenses Commission, Professor Bolaji Owasonoye, we thank everybody and we thank the convener of the program for making it possible today. The topic for today's discussion, the first, is on securing Nigeria election. So permit me to have added the role of law enforcement agencies in that. The outlines are the introduction, vote buying, why do we need to secure Nigeria election, elections, stakeholders, importance of law enforcement agency in election monitoring, ICPC mandate, instrument against corruption or electoral corruption, and conclusion. The next slide. I start by introducing what election means as a process and procedure through which eligible citizens of a particular state choose their political representatives who are expected to solve on their behalf the collective problem of the masses. Election gives citizens choices of choosing among the contesting parties and candidates through voting. Under democracy, elections are supposed to be conducted to ensure that the winners reflect the intention of the voters. In other words, in order to achieve this, there's need to ensure safety of the process from all harms. Vote buying. We understand in Nigeria today, apart from political thuggery and other things, vote buying is the most rampant issue in Nigeria election today. That is why I choose to focus on vote buying. Vote buying, as one of the electoral corruption or malpractices, was referred to as electoral clientelism and patronage politics, occur when a political party or candidate distributes money or resources to a voter in an upcoming election with the expectation that the voter vote for the actor handing out monetary reward. Vote buying can take various forms. It can be monetary. At the same time, it can be for goods and services. Political parties are prohibited from buying votes or offering any bribe, gift, reward, gratification, or any other monetary or material consideration or allowance to voters and electoral officers. Yes, next slide. Objectives of vote buyer. A buyer of votes has it at the back of his mind to pay a group or people in order to achieve one or combination of the following. One, pay them to vote or refrain from voting. Cast a vote for the choice of the buyer, register as voter, and engage in forced registration, among others. Now, why do we need to secure Nigeria elections? There are so many reasons for us to secure Nigeria elections. One of such is poverty, to prevent our country from poverty-ridden state. Economic instability, in order to avoid that, we have to secure Nigeria election. Unemployment, because we all see, so we have to provide that and ensure there won't be unemployment. Insecurity of a thing, we have to make provision for that. Widen the gap between the rich and the poor, low morale, low productivity, brain drain, apathy toward governments, reduction in quality of service and rendered to the public. All these are needed to be taken care of as part of securing Nigeria election. The stakeholders in election, as I have it by the first side, success or failure of any election depend on the stakeholders performing their duties, meaning that all hands must be on deck in order to ensure that the Nigeria elections are well secured. One, INEC is one of the stakeholders there. Political parties, they have their own role to play Law enforcement agencies, we have our own role to play as well. The media, they have their own role. Election observers, CSOs, voters as well. The masses, they have their own role to play as well. Now, importance of law enforcement or security agents rather in election monitoring. As rightly quoted from the word of OTIF 2004, the security agency can make a difference in the outcome of elections. It is therefore important that security officers display the highest level of integrity, neutrality, professionalism, and sense of duty. The protection of human lives, voters' electoral materials, and officers, and the preservation of law and orderly electoral process are part of the role of law enforcement agencies, are necessary for credible, free, and fair election. ICPC mandates. ICPC, as a law enforcement agency, is saddled with the responsibility of making Nigeria a corrupt society. As I put up there, is the apex anti-corruption agency in Nigeria, saddled with the following mandate under Section 6A to F of the ICPC Act. First one there is enforcement. Enforcement there, we have the power to investigate and prosecute the offenders. Secondly, prevention. As we know, prevention, they say, is better than cure. It costs less to prevent rather than running after the incident, after the incident might have happened. And lastly, public education and enlightenment. I believe what we are doing in this gathering falls under public enlightenment in order to prevent and make the Nigeria and whoever involves the stakeholders to know their role before the election. So ICPC mandate continues as Section 6A of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences says it shall be the duty of the Commission, A, where reasonable grounds exist for suspecting that any person has conspired to commit or has attempted to commit or has committed an offense under this act or any other law prohibiting corruption. Any other law prohibiting corruption, to receive and investigate any report of conspiracy to commit, attempt to commit, or the commission of such offense, and in appropriate cases to prosecute the offenders. Yes. I deliberately highlighted make it bold where I said other laws in the last slide. Other sections that mention other laws include Section 5 of the Act, Section 5(1) of the Act, Section 15, Section 26, subsection 2, 27, up till Section 71. Yes. Now, this is the ICPC Act. The ICPC has the mandate to prosecute under all these laws. One, the Nigerian Constitution of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended, the Fair Character Commission Act 1995, the Code of Conduct Bureau and Tribunal Act, Money Laundering Prohibition Act, Economic and Financial Crime Commission Act as amended, the Public Procurement Act as amended, NEITI, due process laws, financial regulations, policies, Pension Reform and Electoral Act 2022, among others. At this juncture, I think it is imperative for us to report corrupt practices or corrupt act notice in our environment. As rightly quoted by Albert Einstein, the world will not be destroyed by those who watch them without doing anything. It becomes our duty, our responsibility to report corrupt practices noticed in our society. So these are the toll-free lines for the ICPC. Report can be made to the ICPC free number. These are the MTN lines. These are the Glow. While there is an application under Play Store, you can report anonymous report. Just tell us, say without putting your name, assist the commission who will investigate and find the whoever is involved and bring them to book. We can as well reach. Yes, we can as well reach via Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at ICPC, Nigeria, the same thing at YouTube. So the issue about corruption and electoral corruption as well shouldn't be left in the hands of a single body or authority. Yes, we are a law enforcement agency, but it becomes our responsibility to report any corrupt cases. You don't have to put your name. Anonymous, we have varieties of platforms that you can send your report. Send it to us to assist us. Thank you for listening.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Dauda of the ICPC. You heard from him. Corruption is not allowed in the electoral process. And you've also listened to Mr. John, the security expert from the Department of State Services. And also you've listened to a doctor from the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission, that is Dr. Chibuke. But I mean, it's not a one-way thing. We said this is going to be interactive. So we're going to throw the floor open and make the microphone available so that you two can look at some of these issues that have been raised: security, broadcasting, and also corruption. And maybe any other dimension, that may be of interest, because this Electoral Act 2022 was long awaited. It's here. Some people say it's not a perfect document, that there are still certain things we need to look at in the document. But, as Dr. Muiz Banere pointed out, the true test of any law is in its implementation. It's when you implement it that you can test it and refine it. So who is going to go first, and who is going to volunteer to help me take the microphone around the room as I see your hands up? Okay, thank you. So who's going to go first? You? Please.
Okay, I have.
Please identify yourself and please keep it brief. Don't let it be another presentation.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Muritala Williams. My own comments will come in form of the questions to all our facilitator or discussants. To the DSS, how do we report intelligent reports now? How do we channel it to you before, during, and after election? Then I think ICPC has already given us how to reach out to them. Then NBC, what is your take about a particular station favoring a particular candidate or political party? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Akim Onimagu. My first comment, also the question, will go to the ICPC. So you said the election is a process, and one of the most important aspects of that process is the party primary. When we are talking about electoral offenses and corruptions, it was very glad that we all saw it in the primary, especially the main political party primary, how money is openly exchanging hands. So my question is this: is it that your duties does not cover the primary of the party? Is it only after the election? Because what we are doing in the election is actually the product, what we are dealing with in the main election is actually the product of that primary elections. So if openly parties are changing hands to buy food and to do this in their primary, in the presence of your officer. We are all seeing it in the national televisions, and nothing is done. So I want to know, maybe your poster always starts when the primary has gone, or during your election to pursue all these 20 naira, 50 naira to buy food at the police station. We don't bother about millions. That was I changed hand during the primary. I want to know that, please. The second one is to the National Portal Commission. You say I started my career in broadcasting, even though I've led for a very long time. I understand the fact that every broadcasting organizations, especially the one that made for I work in government. What I know for private organizations, they are meant to make money, profit, making money. So how do we ensure that they balance making money with fairness and service to the nation? Because I've studied and I've watched for the fact that we are just entering campaign, how the cover, most of these national televisions, most of the network cover the process, the activities of it. And I've seen a lot of lopsidedness in their in their district, probably because they are tended to they attempt to a particular party, or because a particular party is ready to pay them more than the other one. How do you make sure they balance it, fairness with profit making? Thank you.
Okay, we'll take just one more contribution. For now, we have a question. Again, who would like to take the microphone before we come back and take a second round of questions? Yes, the gentleman there, please.
Good afternoon, sirs. Good afternoon, everybody. My question is for the DSS. Oh, sorry, my name is Oluwafemi Fakolade. My question goes to the DSS, the NBC, and if Dr. Abat will permit me to be my adopted uncle this afternoon. The question also goes to him. And the question is, what are you doing with social media and fake news?
We have 2 questions for Mr. John. So maybe we'll go first. And then we have a question for Dr. Chibuke of the NBC, and one question for Dr. Dauda of the ICPC. So Mr. John, we'll start with you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Murtala, let me quickly answer your question before I move on to Mr. Femi. The DSS, we have formations in all the local government areas where you can present yourself, submit your report there, or you can as well submit it at the state command. So, we treat all these reports very important, and that high degree of secrecy too. But I can also avail you a number in case it's a WhatsApp number 080 51 90 31 53. Yes, we treat every report with the utmost confidence. Then, Mr. Femi, your question is, how do we monitor social media and fake news? Yes, we do. We have the necessary tool to monitor all these things. It's very technical, so I can't go into detail, but believe me, we monitor, and if we find any threat that threatens the country, there are different categories of threats. Yes, there are some that would likely shake the foundation of the country. In fact, believe me, no matter where you are, we'll get you. Yes, we have those things. I can't go into details, but yes, we monitor them. In fact, even in our national headquarters, we have a full department dedicated to that particular aspect because it's an emerging threat. You understand? Thank you very much.
Well, Mr. John, before you take your seat, I would like to ask him to repeat that number because I was also writing it down. I missed 2 of the.
So I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. So I was supposed to say it 2 times. I'm sorry, sir. 080 51 90 31 53. Yes, mostly it's WhatsApp. Just send your this and we follow up from there. utmost confidentiality. Thank you, Mr.
Yes, thank you, Mr. John. The point he's making is that security is a collective responsibility. But I hope that when we phone the numbers, the people we give information about, the DSS will not inform the people and say, this is the man who reported you. So the point about utmost confidentiality is very important. Okay, who do I go to now? Dr. Chibuke.
All right, thank you. I think the two of my questions are related. Stations favoring a particular party and how do we ensure balancing and fairness by the broadcasting stations. I think the issue of balance and fairness, and let me give you one scenario. Last 2 weeks we had a sensitization forum in Lagos, and I was meant to invite all political parties. And to my greatest surprise, we moved around Lagos and we couldn't locate. We know the number we located. And we extended that invitation to that number. We made effort. We are a neutral body. So ensuring what the code is talking about is equity. There are occasions that the stations may deliberately refuse to accommodate another political party. And that's exactly what we are completely against. But a situation that the station will invite party A, and subsequently you rotate it to invite party B, I think they are doing the right thing. But when it comes to sport advertisement, which is 60 seconds, or their promos, my brother, the stations are there to make money. So you pay them at their own rate. So if party A decides to have about jingles, I won't because of it. And I said, party B doesn't have money to pay for even one jingle. And you are not expecting me to enforce him because I'm not the one buying diesel and they're paying their workers for them. So what the code is talking about is equity. Make your platform accessible to all political parties and all that. Another sensitive question asked here is the issue of social media. I know that we are going to ask that question. In fact, Dr. Batti have prompted me already. And I know that that question will come. I will try to answer that question. Where I can't answer, I think it's also his turn to help in that direction. Social media is a sensitive issue. Like my brother here said, all of us are working. And then in that direction is something we must handle with every amount of the sensitiveness it deserves. And the first hallmark of regulation is license. Be rest assured that we've started licensing some of the social media platforms. And that's the only way you can easily trace them, that you can easily engage them, and that you can relate with them. The process is ongoing. And social media is not just an issue for only NBC. Remember that they are not using the broadcasting platform alone. They are also using the telecommunication, and there are other agencies that are involved. And be rest assured that federal government have set up a committee that is looking in that direction to harmonize all the agencies so that there will be a formidable approach on how best to regulate social media in Nigeria. And remember what happened when the issue came to the National Assembly. So we are trying to be democratic and ensure that we engage all stakeholders to find a best way to regulate social media. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I know regulating social media, it can be a bit partial because, okay, where do you draw the line between censorship and the freedom of the people to express themselves? But the truth of the matter is that in parts of the country, in parts of the world, in some countries, even in Africa, in Malawi, South Africa, in Rwanda, there's social media regulation to say that, well, yes, while we recognize the fact that you can be free, you can express yourself, there are certain limits that you do not cross. Because people use the social media to threaten other people, to cause mayhem, to misinform, to disinform. Okay, so where do we draw the line between your right to express yourself and also the right of other persons to the dignity of the human person as defined under the... Well, let me go to Dr. Dauda now. We're trying to manage time. All of this is supposed to end by 4 o'clock, and then we'll begin the celebration of Comrade Mike Igene. Dr. Dauda, what's the scope of the work of the ICPC? Does it extend to party primaries?
Thank you so much, sir. To answer your question, Mr. Hakim, straight, our work covers pre-election, during the election, and post-election. You may not notice our men at that they concluded primaries. I think they were in one of those primaries that you mentioned of. But let me say categorically, it is not, it becomes our duty, all of us. If you notice anything, don't assume that the commission is supposed to have known. At least they are reading papers. Put your reports down. Let us know. That is why all these platforms are there for you. You don't need to put your name there. Don't anonymous report. Just send your this thing. But make sure if you still work, because the issue with many Nigerians are whenever they send a report to the ICPC, they quickly expect response. I know the person that we said that you involved in this thing, they expect that the following day ICPC starts running after the person. No, we have to do our findings too. If you have genuine reasons that can assist us, attach it, but trust it with that your report. You don't need to put up your name. Don't let us know you. So by doing that, you are assisting us and assisting Nigeria as well. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Muritala Dauda of the ICPC. Well, I was told by Dr. Muiz Banire that we are online, out there, and that there are persons participating in this, conversation online. So I don't know whether we have some comments, some reactions, questions to our panelists posted online so that we can accommodate that very quickly. Excuse me? Charles? Okay, there is Charles online there. If we can just take Charles' intervention. Charles, thank you for joining us. Please go ahead. Charles Awuji. Please unmute your system. Okay, Charles, please go ahead. Yes, thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Dr. Awuji Charles Evans from Rivers State, Port Harcourt particularly. My question is on the security. Because I know that the Electoral Act is silent on that area. What happens to the security man who is supposed to protect the law on the day of the election, but now aids in election malpractice? What happens to him? Because if you go, most of the units, they use the security men to commit this election malpractice.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Awuji from France. Dr. Awuji, yes, we got your point. We have Mr. Matt John here representing the Department of State Services. Do we have any other person joining us online Okay, Mr. Majon, what happens? What should we do about those security officials who aid and abet corruption on election day? Because Dr. Awuji is saying that, look, these security people are the problem.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abati. Mr. Charles, earlier in my lecture, I stated about the handbook that the DSS made available to each and every one of the personnel, including the gardeners, cleaners, all of them. And I stand to be corrected. I don't think the any DSS personnel has been caught aiding or abetting electoral malpractices. I can only speak of my own agency here. So I think the service has gone a long way to educate its personnel on its core responsibility during this particular period. And now is the period of social media. I mean, you can video any security person you see doing it, and of course you inform the appropriate office, but I can assure you that the DSS, I've not heard, but I stand to be corrected. Yes, we have a handbook for every one of our personnel on conduct of election, before the election, during the election, and after the election. I hope this answers your question. Thank you very much.
Well, okay, Dr. Banere wants to make an intervention here.
Thank you very much. Well, it will be across board, because essentially I got the message from the DSS clearly in terms of your preparation to enforce at all levels. But I still have challenges with other agencies. I'm still curious as to how, for example, I know Dr. Musa spoke about the vote buying. That is the prevalent thing now, and it needs to be tamed. After INEC have succeeded to a large extent in ensuring that the manipulation, defacement, and all the alteration, all those ones, they've substantially been able to tame that. But now, what politicians have resorted to largely is vote buying. Now, there is the root of the money, the source. How do you intend, or how far have you gone, even tracing the source of the money and the distribution? Because my sense of it is that at a point in time, we were against people, for example, taking their phone, particularly with cameras into polling units, polling booths, sorry. Now, is it not possible for all of us to collectively, for example, advocate that we return to that era now? Because one of the tools that you use is the phone, because that's what they capture who they have voted for and come out to collect their money. I think there is a way of balance, whatever, that we must deal with that. Secondly, regrettably, we don't have the police. We invited them and the INEC people to be here, but unfortunately, we don't have them. They probably would have assisted, but notwithstanding, I believe that our collective wisdom can assist. It is common knowledge, for example, too, that several people have been detected to engage in multiple registration. It's a criminal offense under the Electoral Act. What has happened to them? None has been prosecuted so far. Nobody has been taken. I don't know what is happening to that one equally, and I think we need to look at that. Now, again, it's also the issue of the sorry, just a minute. The B board. I don't know how to go. We are going to go about that. I'm sure again that is not under NBC. Yes, but that is another major area that we've been having a lot of inequities all over the different states. Because, for example, you have a state where, let's assume you have 100 billboards, and the state is in control of the signage agency. We say, okay, even if we are going to allow you, all the conspicuous, the prominent one, they will have appropriated it to themselves alone. So they relegate you, or they don't even give you access to any at all. How do we control that? How do we ensure that there is balancing in that one? And I know that DSS spoke about their doc staff. I'm not too sure to what extent you have succeeded in that, because the practice for some of the people that are here that have engaged in politics is that even most of their doc staff are usually recruited from the politicians, and they get away with it. It's still the pattern up till now. In fact, the EOs we ask, give us give us names there, give us names there. And at the end of the day, to the best of my knowledge, they still get pass through that system successfully and assist to a large extent in that. Now, again, you spoke about Togri the last time. Now is one of the potent tools that politicians will resort to, since they cannot do all that manipulation again. They just look for areas of their weaknesses and ensure election does not take place. People are harassed, terrorized in those areas. How do you intend to address this again? I think this is very, very important also. And you spoke about the sponsors, and I know that beyond intelligence gathering, in recent times you've been combatant from the DSS, Department of State Security. And some of these characters, the sponsors, are known. The kingpins are known. In virtually all local government, if you ask an average politician, even an average person, not even a politician, will tell you they are there. This is their coordinator, this is the kingpin. But we still see them around on election days. I know at the point in time, maybe about 2 decades ago or thereabout, I can't even remember now, you will discover that a day or two before, some of these campaigns will have been invited. They will be your guests till after election. So that deterred most of these other, but it doesn't occur again. They are all over the whole place. In fact, they convene meeting openly now, all over the whole place. So these are just my own observations. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Convener, United Action for Change. I'm sure there is a question for the 3 panelists in Dr. Banire's intervention. About billboard, yes, well, I guess that's for the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria. And also the kind of rules that we have in the states. Some of the states now, like Kogi State, they've announced rates. If you want to put your billboard there, if it's presidential, you pay maybe 1 million naira. If it is gubernatorial, you pay a certain amount. So when I asked the governor of Kogi State, I said, this amount, is it not too much? Why now? He said, no, the state also has a responsibility to generate revenue. So I thought, yes, while the state is generating revenue, you can exclude some people. It's a perfect excuse you can offer in that regard. You don't know they can't pay. If they can't pay, then your billboard will not be allowed. But that's part of the challenge. But also the source of the money. Okay, there's this popular phrase: follow the money. Is ICPC following the money? Is EFCC following the money? Okay. We know that the Electoral Act, talks about cap, spending caps, limits, how much you can spend for various categories. But who is monitoring that? Who is also monitoring how the money comes about? The Constitution says you can't collect money from foreign sources. If you do, the Electoral Act says you must report the money and hand it over to INEC and all of that. Who is monitoring all of those processes, issues that have come up. Maybe, Mr. John, you start with the issue raised about open intelligence and what you do with open intelligence, because it's not every piece of intelligence that will come through phone call or people reporting. Most of these people, when you were giving them phone number, I know half of them will not want to report anything.
Thank you, Dr. Abati. Please report. So, yeah, I can assure you we treat things like this with utmost confidence. Yeah, back to Dr. Banire. You see, we as a law-abiding service, we don't just go about indiscriminate arrest. There has to be facts. There have to be some evidence of the commission or involvement of somebody in those particular aspects or those particular crime or acts. I can remember back in 2009 when I was in Benue State Command. In fact, before election, we usually round those talks up and lock them. Actually, we usually get evidence. Some of them have those arms and we raid and get. But now we don't usually get those information about most of these people. I don't know why. But I can assure you, please, if you have information, credible information on the activities of these people, where they store their arms, where they stockpile their arms and ammunitions, and maybe you heard of maybe rumors of maybe they're going to cause electoral violence in a particular place or something, please let us know. Avail us this particular information. I'm sure that we're going to act. Intelligence, security is not just a one-man business. It's a cooperative. It's a cooperative responsibility. Believe me, we don't know everything. We usually act on information. Those information is what we process to bring out the end product. So please, we rely on members of the public a lot too for all those information that will enable us to act. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Marjon. Well, before I come to you, Dr. Chibuke, let's go to the ICPC representative, Dr. Dauda. The point Dr. Banire made about multiple registration. Although Dr. Festus Okoye, INEC commissioner, I tried to address this, that what INEC is trying to do is to clean up the register. And when the register is probably cleaned up, they will put out the the final voters register out there. But I guess Dr. Banire's point is that it's an offense to register, multiple times. So who is looking at that? Even with INEC's assurance that that register will be cleaned up and that they have ABIS. ABIS is the system they say they have in place to eliminate multiple registration. Over to you, Dr. Dow.
Thank you so much, sir. As I've rightly said in my presentation earlier on, I said apart from the ICPC Act 2000, the Commission has the right to prosecute under several laws, Nigerian constitutions, Electoral Act 2020, all the laws. One person is found wanting of anything, corrupt practices, and we have facts against the person. There's no limit. There's nothing stop us again from going forward and make the person a scapegoat rather. What I still want to encourage us to do in the course of noticing anything in our environment, as they said, please endeavor to report. And there's this thing our commission is doing, we are working towards that. There's this behavioral change. There are some social norms in our system that we believe that we will perceive any corrupt practices or other things that is unethical in our society. For an African man, it may be it is ungodly to report your fellow woman. No, that thing should not be there. If you, I believe 2 scripture books, there's none of them preach in favor of corruption. If you perceive any unethical behavior in our society, endeavor to report. Based on what you told us, you tell us rather, we act on it. We make anybody that is found wanting of things, that we make them a scapegoat. That will serve as deterrence to others. But in the cause of maybe we keep it to ourselves, no, we shouldn't be your brother's keeper. If you see your brother committing a crime, you avoid him, you keep his secret. You are not helping ourselves. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. Well, we still have some 14 minutes. So we just have to manage the time very well. But quickly now, the point raised about billboards. Now, the advertising aspect of the campaign is abused. Let me go to Dr. Chibuke to deal with that.
Thank you very much. I'm a member of advertising standard panel. And I'm not speaking directly for AFCRON, that's the advertising the council. But this is a very straightforward issue. And I'm also going to raise this issue with the chairperson for that panel. What I know is that there are some billboards that are already meant for their agencies. And I implore people, there are other ones already acquired. People should make effort to acquire and place their adverts on those billboards. But at the same time, I represent the National Broadcasting Commission, and my own area is purely broadcasting. And that broadcasting is also an opportunity. Nobody have ever complained that their adverts or their promos are being rejected by the broadcast stations. And it's also an opportunity for them to use the broadcast stations so that my broadcasters can make a good money during this exercise. So that they won't tell me that they've not made money so that they can pay their license fee. So there's an opportunity in that sector for them to make good money at this point in time. Also, let me use this opportunity to assure you that one funny thing about us is that we hardly complain. We've never received any petition or complaint from anybody that they are being denied access in the broadcast stations, meaning that the broadcast stations are doing what they expected to do. In case you have any complaint or the political parties or candidates are being denied access, feel free to complain. We will take it up as quickly as possible. My engagement with the broadcasters, they are willing. In fact, at times they will even tell me that they will invite the political parties and their candidates. They won't even show up in their programs. So they should be able to sell their product, which is their ideas, to Nigerians. This is an opportunity for them to campaign and sell what they really want to do to Nigerians. At times, we as regulators, we can't be drinking Panadol in somebody's headache. We always feel free that somebody should come up with a valid complaint and be rest assured that we treat it the way it's supposed to be treated. Thank you very much.
Well, all of this is about 2023 general elections. And as Nigerians, yes, it's good for us to reflect. But how many of us have a PVC here in this room? Because you could be, you are talking 19 to a dozen. Well, I have PVC. Mr. Mike Igine, you don't have PVC. I also didn't see Mr. Adegoke's hand up. You don't have PVC? Anyway, the whole idea is that, look, the 2023 general election is an election like no other. And all of us will have to be part of it. We've had a very interesting time in the last 2 hours discussing that election. We've looked at the role of institutions, the role of the security agencies, very important, ensuring that before, during, and after the elections, that average Nigerian can feel very free to take his PVC and go out there to vote, whether he's in Borno State, in Maiduguri, or in the southeast of Nigeria. That's one issue we have not addressed. Hopefully, during the elections in the southeast in 2023, people will be allowed, they will be free to go out there, and make their own contribution to the future of Nigeria. We have heard from the representative of the Department of State Services, who says, yes, the Department of State Services, is fully aware and alive, of it, to and of its responsibilities under the Enabling Act and also under the Constitution of Nigeria. He has shared with us a phone number saying that, look, yeah, the work of security is not for the institution alone, it's the collective responsibility, and that the Department of Services will treat, every piece of information, with utmost confidentiality, and I think that that's a very good development. I didn't even know that DSS, that they have a phone number, where you can call them. So for me, that's a major discovery. And I hope that if you call that number, that the number will work. And going forward also, the Department of State Security will make utmost use of open intelligence. We have also had the privilege of the representative of the Broadcasting Commission, Dr. Chibuke. Of course, the media is central to all of this. And in the course of our conversations, we have had what the regulator expects: civility, balance, fairness, justice, whether it's in the broadcast medium or it is even with advertising, so that everybody will just conduct themselves, like civil people. As we have also agreed in the course of our discussions, this is an election, it's not war. Nigerians have, the right to make a choice. You make your choice, you live with it. After all, we lived with the choice we made in 2015, the choice we made in 2019. We will have another opportunity to make another choice in 2023, and we will live with it. The good thing about us as Nigerians is that we are very resilient people. We're very optimistic people. And part of democracy is the right to make mistakes. If you make a mistake, it's not a problem. The country will continue. Okay, then you have another opportunity. And so Nigeria continues to evolve. And, all of us, we cannot give up on this country. We just play our part. In discussing the media, well, one major issue that came up is the social media. Okay, and I think that quite a number of persons expressed concern about social media. But, I still insist that in dealing with the social media, whereas there are regulations in other countries, it could be controversial. Where do you draw the line between censorship and the freedom of expression? It's a very delicate, balance in that regard. And then, of course, we talk corruption, which is the big elephant in the room. How do you ensure that people do not corrupt the system, including persons who are in uniform, who someone pointed out, aid and abet corruption. The Electoral Act 2022, I think we all agreed, is a major advancement, through the introduction of technology, through some of the reforms that have been introduced. But in 2023, we'll have an opportunity to test that law properly. And then, of course, if there are omissions, if there are challenges going forward, we'll have the opportunity to further refine the law, because the law is a living document, so as you test it, you continue to improve on it, as the senior advocates in this room would easily, concur. Okay, so here we are. 2023 is around the corner. Today is Independence Day. We have used this opportunity to reflect on the issues that have been raised. We've not had the privilege of having the police or INEC, but I think that we've covered more or less the field. And if it is possible, let all of us try to get a copy of the Electoral Act 2022, and familiarize ourselves with that document going forward. Finally, I'd like to congratulate Dr. Muiz Banere, and the United Action for Change for giving us this opportunity on the occasion of this second independence anniversary, to share ideas, to reflect on the past, the present, and also the future. And I would also like to use this opportunity as we move into the second phase of the program to congratulate Mr. Mike Guinea, who has served his country very well in his capacity as a resident electoral commissioner in states of the Federation, Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Edo State, and who has been a very outspoken defender of the integrity of the electoral process, and who, although they say he's retiring, well, I don't see how a very energetic man like him can retire. You can be sure, he will still be very active. You will still see him at fora like this, also on television, also radio, because those of us, in the talk business, we have no doubts that his experience will be of great use, to the community. But more importantly, I have no doubts that Nigeria will in the immediate future, find other assignments for him where he can distinguish himself as he has done in all the assignments that he has been given on our behalf. Congratulations and thank you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ruben Abati and all other distinguished resource persons here. As you must have noted, in United Action for Change, we respect time a lot, and we try to insist that every minute or second must be accounted for. So on that note, I quickly move to the second segment, which is the celebration of our honoree, Comrade Mike Igini. And I adopt what I've said earlier in its entirety. And just to say that this is just a celebration or appreciation of integrity, dedication, passion, focus, courage. That is what we are appreciating and what we are celebrating in this segment. He has discharged his responsibility. He has discharged his responsibility fearlessly, and he has discharged and acquitted himself. So in this segment, we shall be calling on Dr. Afolabi, are you ready? Okay, please, you may step out to quickly give us the citation so that we move to next item.
Thank you very much, convener. We are in the second phase, and you already know Comrade Mike Igini. He was born on the 28th of August, 1967. He attended Okoti Ebo Grammar School, Benin City, Sapele. After that, he went to University of Benin and University of Lagos, and later Nigeria Law School. He's a committed pro-democracy activist. He is one of the living heroes of June 12, who fought gallantly for the return of civil rule in Nigeria. We are currently enjoying now. He was appointed to serve Electoral Commissioner and served in Akwa Ibom. Mr. Igini is courageous and forthright in his dedication to evolving a new Nigeria that is egalitarian, just, and prosperous. For these qualities, he is widely admired and revered, and at the same time, loathed by those who are not able to compromise him to do their bidding. Mr. Igini was the target for many hostile and malicious attacks by politicians who feel frustrated by his honest, uncompromising disposition to the dictates of his oath of office. One of such libelous attack is currently in court. As he successfully completes this round of public service as resident Electoral Commissioner of Akwa Ibom State, what we have to say to our brother, a compatriot, Comrade Mike Igini, is roll up your sleeves as you await the next call to duty for a new motherland, for our motherland. Those in this room, for the retirement of Comrade, for committed comrade like yourself, at a time when our country is in dire need of patrons like you. We don't have much to say other than to encourage you that as we move forward to further challenges, you keep abreast and keep committed to the positive focus that you have been seen, notified, and we're encouraging you to continue. And we don't have any doubts in our mind that Nigeria, with the quality of your leadership and quality of your forthrightness, we have a better tomorrow.
May I respectfully invite Dr. Abati to help present the award and also apologize that I just spotted an error, which I'm ashamed of, but I'm sure that we will correct it. It's not usually my character to take things for granted, but this one I took for granted and I saw that instead of commissioner. Sure. Yes.
So we'll retrieve and correct.
Yes.
Well, on behalf of United Action for Change, the convener, Dr. Muiz Banire, and all members, and all of you who are this special occasion, it's my pleasure to present on behalf of United Action for Change this award for excellence in leadership, presented to Comrade Mike Igine in recognition and appreciation of his outstanding performance and contribution to strengthening democracy in Nigeria and his exemplary leadership as INEC Commissioner. Congratulations, Comrade Mike Igine. Okay.
Well, before our moderator moves so fast, Dr. Ruben Abati, we want to appreciate you, colleague, for sparing the time and sacrificing your day, and as always for us, and on behalf of our people, we are presenting this to you just as a token form of appreciation of this sacrifice and contribution to the growth of the nation. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Next one, next one. Thank you very much. It's on behalf of the United Action for Change, we appreciate you as a panelist, and this is our token for that purpose. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Mr. John, thank you very much. On behalf of United Action for Change, we want to thank you for the sacrifice and your contribution to the conversation. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Chief, is this Chief? Oh, Doctor. Oh, you are confusing me. Okay, Chief Doctor. This on behalf of United Action for Change, we want to present this to you. It's our token of appreciation. Thank you very much. God bless you. Now, let me just take quickly, because I know our panelists and resource persons have a lot in their hands. So we quickly move to the response. Now, thank you very much.
Thank you. May I thank the convener, Dr. Muiz Banire, and the entire members of United Action for Change for today's event, and also to recognize today's moderator, Dr. Abati, a scholar of remarkable intellectual prowess. And of course, the panelists, Dr. Musa of the ICPC, Mr. John of the DSS, and my friend of the NBC, Shubike, Dr. Shubike, and of course, the entire members of United Action for Change. UAC, UAC, thank you. There is no doubt, and I want to say this here, that no greater honor and encouragement will fellow citizens give to another citizen for public service that you have given to me today. I want to say that truly I would have said from the bottom of my heart, but for you people, my heart has no bottom, but to say thank you. Because we are in a country where we hardly recognize people, try to encourage people to do the right thing. You all recall that in 2010, on the 8th of June, when Professor Jega, Professor Lara Lurode, and myself were the only 3 people of civil society background that were appointed by Jonathan, President Jonathan. I personally accepted the appointment with extreme trepidation because I knew I needed to be a body that conduct what used to be an organized crime in the name of elections, supervised by the state. And when people are in the tribunal, people go to churches and mosques to be doing celebration. And the church, the clerics will be saying that God gives power to whoever he pleases. While members of the same church, they are in court, in tribunal. So what will be happening was moral and ethical recession in our country. We'll be having moral and ethical recession in our country. And we are still there. But the point being made here is that what you are seeing today, showing clearly that in any nation, the people must have something to build on. We started the process of reform. Because Jega was member. People will say, oh, the West recommendation, it was rejected. Even by the government that set it up. But we started taking provisions, some of the recommendations, started implementing them. When Jega left office, with all that he did, and that team, and I was part of it, Professor Lurode, not even award was given to him, no national award given to him to date. It was only his university, Bayero, that called him back and brought him back to the school, to the university. Up to date, no recognition for him. So that's the kind of country we are. But every year, you hear about national award. And of course, we also have some group of people who give award every time for money. I've got about 650 since I came to office, but I never accepted one. Because we all have to be making money. That's why I cherish this particular one. Because all the engagement I've had with UAC, all the lectures, was how to give meaning and purpose to the ballot as the best means of expression of the will of the people in a democracy. That's what you've been doing all this period. So I was outside the country immediately after I left office. Although, like Abati tacitly queried, how could a young man of just 55 years old be said to be retired when I'm just 55 years old? I have not spent 35 years in public service, because whether you spent 35 years or you have attained 60 years old, I've never attained neither of the two. I've only put in 10 years award is like a thankless service. Because when you leave, when they talk about retirement, they give you nothing. You go as you came. We are not entitled to anything for that 10 years. That is why people are corrupt. For 10 years, you go with nothing. But for those of us who, because when the journey of Nigeria and the prospect of democracy was less certain, we risked our lives. We fought for democracy. As we're here today, I remember Bamidele Aturu, our late brother. Ebu Adegburu was senior advocate. 3 of us, we were kept in the same prison in Enugu. We were arrested. We were together there, fighting for democracy. Regrettably, when there was a return to democracy, those who fought for democracy did not take over. Civil society made a fundamental error. Those who didn't fight for democracy took over. And over the years, they brought in all manners of people into the system. To take them out has been the difficult problem we are having today. So we have all manners of people who have little or no philosophical insight to what leadership and what service is all about, who are involved in election. They're almost taking over everything. That's the difficulty we're having today. A country that with so much potential today, by the happenstance of 1914, we are 8 years. And today we are celebrating 62 years of independence. We have remained a country of potential in the making. A country that J.F. Kennedy said in January 1960, when he listened to Tafawa Balewa's speech, he said, a great child will be born in Africa. In 12 years' time, it will be like United States of America. Where are we today? We are so far away from that. So, a beautiful country with huge, vast human resources has been undermined by chains of uninspired leadership that have condemned the society to a wasteland. A society littered with the debris of missed and squandered opportunities. And some of us almost gave up on Nigeria. But when I see what is happening now, hope is reborn in us. Help is on the way. Help is on the way. 2023 is going to be a different ball game. With the 2022 Electoral Act, the innovations that are in place, if we all join together, work together as a people, most of the political Egyptians we are seeing today will see them no more. In the days ahead, I want to make this very clear here. Having just been an umpire, I will remain an umpire throughout the period of the election and beyond. But surely, the office of the citizen will be very, very active in educating Nigerians on the 2022 Electoral Act and procedures. Some of the issues raised by, is it Conference of United Party COP or something? I was outside the country, I know that. Myself, Abati, and other stations, we are going to be engaged on those issues. Please, don't let anybody use misinformation, disinformation to discourage you. There is nothing anybody can do to roll back the 2022 Electoral Act back. You can't roll it back anymore. The greatest problem people are having now is the 2022 Electoral Act and the new sheriff in town, the beavers. And that's why they're also going to court now to stop it. So, I will make fundamental clarification to Nigerian people. In the days, weeks ahead, the office of the citizen will be very, very active. I will clear so many things that have been said, particularly by that press conference or by the issue about research. I will clear all of those things. And one thing I can tell you, it is that the polling unit is not the universe, is not the center of universe. The things that you need to know in the days ahead, I will tell Nigerians. There's one or two provisions. I will never talk about it throughout the period of the election. I will never talk about those provisions. But all I can tell people is that you can find it out if you can, because this Electoral Act was a combination of our effort from 2010. That's why it is unique. We made a total of 91 proposals. 91. They have reluctantly accepted 48. The 48 that they have accepted, they have not even read some of them. We know what we put in there. They have not read them. So when our party said people should go and buy the Electoral Act, they should go and get lawyers. You remember in my last lecture here, I said, let them go and get lawyers to help them. But those of us who put some of those things there, we shall meet in Philippi. Because everything that you find there is to return power to the Nigerian people. You cannot abort a pregnancy that has been delivered. And so I want to thank the DSS. And I want to opportunity to say this here. You require the Trinity, no, the cooperation of the following institutions. The success of election is a multi-stakeholder responsibility of 1, INEC, 2, judiciary. I mean, today we didn't talk about judiciary. Look, that's my constituency. I said it the other time that if Nigeria will die, it will die because of we lawyers and judges. Because of the things that are going on at the moment. Political parties, candidates, citizen, media, and CSO, civil society organization. But the trinity of 3 will change Nigeria's situation. 1, INEC. 2, judiciary. And 3, security. But the point must be made here that the beautiful laws we are talking about, the innovations, they are not self-executory. They require people to implement them. And so the impulse of Section 91, the philosophy behind it, now that you now have the civil defense added, we put all of those things there, is that the role of the police is to provide security. In fact, the language is limited to provision of security. That's only the only job of the police now. When it comes to now that we have flagged off the campaign throughout the country, that's their job. Security, once we can get security that they are absolutely showing neutrality to be well with Nigeria, including INEC, that's on the driver's seat of the entire process. Everybody had experience of the various security we have in Nigeria. I want to talk quickly about DSS. DSS, I have my own unique experience with the DSS. That in Akwa Ibom, which is the most turbulent place I've ever worked, the DSS stood tall and mighty in defense of democracy and the rule of law. We had a total of 7 commissioners of police before the election. They were changing them just at will. So they said that on a particular day, we had 3 CP sitting on that day. They were confused. But DSS resisted that till the end. But to prove to those who were going to the villa, to say that the DSS was conniving with me, conniving with what? What do I have to give? I don't have anything other than the right to be done. They say ensure that the DSS director for the state must be removed and all that. Just the DSS to prove to them that they had nothing to do other than to do the right thing. They brought on the eve of that election a new director of SSS. When they reported 24 hours to the election, came to my office. I said, nothing has changed. Do your work, we'll support you. That's what he said. Do your work, we'll support you. But our police, they were not here today. Our police, even what ICPC did, ICPC arrested somebody, brought him to my office. We handed over to the police. What happened? Police compromised. And that's a problem when you talk about agency crisis they have, is that DSS will give to the police, and what police will do be a different thing. So when you talk about interagency, disagreement and on, I know that, look, I speak from experience. What we went through, what the DSS went through. Where have you seen an agency or government paying bribe from that agency or government? It happens in Nigeria. An agency or government had to bribe another agency or government to do government work. I've never seen this kind of thing before in my life, in other parts of the world. And so, I want to thank every one of you here. I just wanted to say, okay, just a few comments on some of the things talked about. Fine. So the philosophy now is that police, your job in this campaign, rally and procession, your job is to provide security and nothing more. All right? Then, of course, as I've said, NBC. One of my juniors used to work with you people before. There's no way we don't have corruption. Things may be changing now. Because the requirement of equal airtime parity, how do you deal with that? As you rightly noted, state-owned radio television station. The philosophy behind that section 95 is that these are state apparatus. It belongs to all citizens, whether you are the member of the ruling party or you are the opposition. It belongs to the state. They must be given equal access. It doesn't happen. This may be changing now because we have to start monitoring from now. And that's very important. It belongs to everybody and not for those who are already in power. When you talk about security, ICPC, EFCC, let me just give you an example. We're doing one election. I would have brought the video here for you to see today. A man came and started sharing money. All the security agencies, voters, they all ran away and went after the man to go and collect money. And they left our officials there, including security. They went to follow after the man sharing money. These are the people you are saying to come and I have the video. So there's a difference between theory and practice. So enforcement is our problem. Enforcement is our problem. Like the ICPC man said, there's too much of sentiment. 12 cases. We have 12 cases given to the police. No, 14. All of them, they boggled all. With all evidence, they boggled 12. I decided to take on 2. The 2 we took on, a professor is in prison right now for changing results in 2019. You will see, as we are going for this election, you are going to drill down to that's why some of the I'm going to be engaging with Abati and other stations. Specifics. Somebody scored 25,123. 25,123. The other candidate scored 10,173. A professor had been helping to rig election over time. You know what he did? In the process of collation, he didn't change he didn't add to change the total. What he did was to remove 5, add it to 10, then the original figure becomes 20,123. If you don't look very well, when you say 123 and all that, you think the same thing. It remained the same, but you have changed the vote. A whole 8,000 votes was added to somebody else. Another one, he had 10 votes. All he needed to do was add 200 to make it 1,000. That one will go for 14 years imprisonment. Because enforcement is our problem. Our problem is not the law. We have the laws. Enforcement is the problem. Those who are even asked to enforce are also corrupt. That's the problem we have. So today is just for me to enjoy myself for what people have done, because I can see there's something over there. It's not for long speech making, but I just felt that these are a few things I just quickly comment on. So really, the whole idea about vote buying in the days ahead, the political economy of vote buying, I'm going to deal with it. Now I will tell Nigerians what they need to know. Don't bother yourself about what they are saying. They cannot do anything under the 2022 Electoral Act because the polling unit is not the center of universe. Will INEC not declare the result at the polling unit? You must declare it. Will you not give result sheets that are duplicate to the party agent? You must. Section 60 is very clear. A presiding officer who fails to do that, you go for six month imprisonment. So we are going to do all of that. So I want to thank you for this honor. I feel encouraged. And as I promised, and as Abati rightly observed, I still very young. The building Nigeria, getting Nigeria question right for 2023 is a task ahead of us. So who is retiring? Nobody is retiring. The office of the will be very, very active. So no partisanship, but to educate Nigerians that help is on the way. That help is on the way. Most of the political Egyptians you are seeing today, you will not see them anymore. I thank you very much for the support. I thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let me quickly, on that note, let me quickly invite Mr. Dr. Alabi to move the vote of thanks. Why the honoree, followed by Dr. Abati, and our resource person will lead us to the kitchen. Let me put it that way, to the kitchen.
USC, we want to appreciate our convener, Dr. Moise Banere, who has organized a very wonderful program like this to give us a good orientation as to the better Nigeria. We also thank Dr. Ruben Abati, whom I'm very happy to see his face for the first time. We thank the representative of the SSS and the SSS. I don't call them DSS anyway, because it's SSS I recognize. I also thank the representative of Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation. I thank the representative of ICPC. One thing I have about ICPC is that they have never lost. I've never seen any legal battle they have lost. So they are wonderful people. Then I also thank Mr. Igini, Mike Igini, who attended the program, even as a celebrant. He may not know me much, but we usually talk. And this conference, that we are in a place where we enter the jam together. So we are of the same set, but it's our head, and we appreciate your coming. We also thank everybody that have participated. Now we have heard about a future new Nigeria. We believe we soon have a new Nigeria. Thank you.
Well, I think it's still lunch time, so lunch is served now. While we are eating, I think somebody wants to be talking. I can see one. Is it Bala Saidu? So he can be addressing us while we are eating. Please unmute him.
Hello. But I'm not sure if I can get the attentions of the audience. Speaking while you are eating. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I just said that I want to express my happiness and also show gratitude to the organizers of this wonderful program. Honestly speaking, it has been very, very educative and interesting. And we hope that more of it will be organized from now to the election period, so that most of our people will become more aware of their rights and how the election should be conducted and how the legal aspect of it is being applied. So thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. But at the end, I want to make an inquiry that at which stage does ICPC, EFCC, and other law enforcement agents intervene during election? Do they used to have their agent in the polling unit, or at which level do they used to have their agent that can monitor the process of the election? Thank you so much. This is my question.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Saidu. All your points are noted, and I'm sure that the various agencies and others that we shall be escalating the matter issues to, we take it up from there. And of course, we are all optimistic that something possible at the end of the day will happen. Thank you very much for your intervention.